I think England have to go full first choice team or thereabouts, maybe tinker in one or two positions, but go first choice team every game now, because this is Argentina, September the 9th. And this just, you need every minute together. So these next, 3 games they've got, haven't they? Wales, Ireland, Fiji.
Yeah.
I just think you go back to back to back, because after the Argentina game, I don't want to disrespect Samoa or Japan, who are capable of an upset, but really it's that Argentina game is the game, and then after that, if they do well in that, it's building up again to a quarter final.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, on Argentina, they look like the form team in that group at the moment, we'll say. But I mean, England, we haven't seen their best team yet. We haven't seen how they were going to play. So, plenty of kind of writing off Borthwick already. I'm going to reserve judgment, I think, until we see their best team out, at least for these warm ups. And then I think we can make a call, because at the moment it's hope. And I am worried because already we see Anthony Watson and Tuolangi sitting out training. And
Yeah,
they would be
and
starters,
also
surely.
I'd like to, just one thing I noticed was Joe Marchant sat out of a session, and we heard that Johnny May had been called up, which that also led me to believe. There's some stuff happens. I go, what's going on there? Maybe maybe I read too much into it, and now you've said Anthony Watson, that maybe makes that make more sense. But I'm actually more optimistic than the average England fan. I think I understand the negativity.
Like
I do understand the kind of negativity and the concern and the feeling that vanilla. I think that's a good way of putting it. But there are some class players. All right, we don't have loads of world class operators, but I look at that team against Wales, and I think it could click. I really do think it could click.
Yeah, I mean, of course it could, definitely. I mean, England have to get it right. They've got to be on the money. If they play the Borth ball, shall we say, if Marler and Stewart scrummage really well, which they absolutely could do, that's good news. If George hits his jumpers, you've got a Toje there as a third jumper. That could work an absolute treat. We need some of the youngsters to step up. If Martin steps up, if Arundel explodes from the beginning, it absolutely could work. So I'm really, really nervous and excited in a way for tomorrow.
Bring it on. Can't wait.
Absolutely. Go on then. Let's round it out then, because we're doing quite a flying tour here of the squads. New Zealand dropped theirs quite early, and to me, I think the headline is they are ready. I cannot see a particular problem in this New Zealand squad. Can you?
No, the lack of surprises, the predictability, the fact that there's very little, even with all the great players they've got, there's players that missed out, and you've gone, oh well, yeah, I get that. It's a shame for them, but I get that. It just speaks of a squad that are in a really good place, and that's in spite of the start to Ian Foster's reign as head coach. He seems to have pulled it together, or as I don't know if you're finding this, but I'm finding lots of Kiwi commenters reminding me that actually it was the New Zealand RFU that brought in Joe Schmidt and Jason Ryan, the forwards coach, because you don't know who you can attribute it to, but they've got things together in the last 12 months, haven't they?
Oh yeah, they're absolutely popping, and that rugby championship, they nailed it. They got all their combinations. They got all their answers. And it's interesting just looking at the props. Out of all things, you've got 3 layers of experience. You've got the older guys, Tuingafasi Lalala, who probably won't start anyway. Then you've got the middle lot, De Groot and Lomax, who are the starters, and then the new guys, Newell and Williams. It's just fantastic, isn't it?
It is, and it's a very New Zealand thing to do when you think about the way that they've always hired their coaches over the years. The Graham Henry to Steve Hansen. That's kind of how New Zealand rugby, when it's at its best, that is how it operates. Where they don't sacrifice the now, but they're constantly progressing it so that black machine just keeps, that juggernaut keeps going on. And yeah, I think that's a really, really good point. That's when you know New Zealand have got their mojo, is when they've ticked all the boxes to the level that they can start thinking, even like they're only focused on the World Cup now, but they're helping their chances in 4 years' time.
Yeah, and it's really you're right, but it is very experienced as well. I mean, look at the fly halves: Bowden Barrett, McKenzie, Mwanga, 32, 28, 29. The midfielders all late 20s. There's plenty of experience here as well as a few youngsters. It looks a team absolutely ready to win a World Cup if they get it right.
It really does. And to have the situation where they're so settled and they've got their combinations and they know who can play where, who can't play where, who's tried and tested, that they can select Brodie Retallick, knowing he may not be available for the France game. We'll wait and see how his injury progresses, but that's a luxurious position to be in.
Yeah, and I think it's a better team than in 2019. I mean, back three, you got Fanganuku, Narwa, Talea, Jordan. I mean, it has got more firepower, and if they keep their top players fit, I think they've got final written all over them to me.
Yeah, it's just that side of the draw again. But I'm gonna make sure we give you due credit here, because everyone's saying what you're saying and I'm saying now. But go back even just a month before the Rugby Championship, or 6 weeks before the Rugby Championship, and people were thinking, "Oh, New Zealand could be good," but they weren't. But they were more under the radar than certainly than they are now. And you were calling it. They're going places, this New Zealand team. So fair play, Rich.
Well, thank you very much. But I think it's just a bit of luck there. But the best sides have the best players generally. I mean, you can make a team better by its coordination, but generally, if your players aren't great, you're going to struggle to have a good team. And all the teams with the best players are the ones in the best position. So it's kind of, a fairly simple summation to make, I think.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, actually, you've answered one question earlier, because I was wondering how it works with the squads, because some teams have gone really early. Some teams, I think France is on Monday. I think they're announcing their squad the 15th. Other teams I haven't worked out, and I don't know exactly when they are announcing their squad. But you're saying the deadline is the 1st of September, and you can change it up to that point.
As I believe it, yeah, it has to be submitted to World Rugby by then. But teams want to announce it fairly early so they can actually start getting tight as a squad, really give time to their combinations, because otherwise you're just keeping people in limbo and having to give reps to people in training who aren't going to make it. So there's definite positives to naming it a bit earlier as well.
Well, this definitely does have the feel of the last weekend when anyone can press their claim. And so, I'm in Edinburgh at the minute, and Scotland, they travel to France, and Gregor Townsend has just cut his squad by a few names, so they're down to 37. So, and there's, I think, like one back three player, maybe it's a scrum half, a hooker, and a back row, something like that, are going to be cut. And I mean, that's getting tight, isn't it? I just hope I hope Gregor Townsend isn't rooming his hookers together, because I mean, that's going to be brutal on the guy that misses out.
Absolutely, they've been doing. I mean, let's finish on Scotland and France, because they've been doing it really well, haven't they? Building up slowly, and they look in great shape, both of those. I think we're going to see an absolute amazing game tomorrow, and they're pretty much fully stacked. They've had their hit out already, and they're just ready to go, aren't they?
Yeah, I can't wait for this one. It's fascinating, and Scotland, I think it's much like England, with Argentina is going to be the litmus test, and that's the focus. Just that South Africa game in Marseille on the first weekend is everything for Scotland. If they can get themselves in a place where they can do that sets them up. If they go and get a beat down against South Africa, it could potentially be over for them before it even begins. It just feels big, and particularly with South Africa gathering form, I think Scotland, and with players being out, I think Scotland smell blood, sense an opportunity, and they're in a really good place. So they've got to go and deliver against France. Can't wait.
If they start fast, I mean, they've had their lesson last week. If they start slow, then you could be in trouble, even though they came back. If Scotland start fast, they've got the game to beat anyone, and I think tomorrow's going to be a good marker.
Doesn't it feel a little bit like Gregor Townsend has handed the team a little bit more? Not to take anything away from Gregor Townsend, but he has. We had all the chat Oh, sorry, I'm not finishing the sentence. You know the 37-all draw with England a few years ago when apparently in the dressing room at halftime, Finn Russell went, right, we tried it your way, now we're doing it my way.
Yeah.
It feels like Gregor Townsend is actually going, okay, we'll be better if we work together going that way.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think he did that this year. He definitely gave Finn Russell a bit more license, and he's kind of made his bed, hasn't he? He's like, I can't control everything. You guys are at your best when you just do your thing. The question is, can they do their thing when it counts, or enough games in a row?
Oh, I'm so excited. I kind of I don't want to wish any days away because the rugby we're getting this weekend is brilliant, but I just can't wait for the World Cup. So more squad announcements will be coming, at which point you will get more chat from both Rich and myself. Don't you worry about that.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you very much, Tim. That was awesome.
Top man, Rich.